Hello, gorgeous souls. I'm Michelle Rosetta, and this is Stories Not to Take to the Grave, a podcast inspired by the rich sharing of traditional wisdom and know-how with storytelling. I believe the remedy our communities deeply require for health and well-being is rooted in our own authentic and unedited tales. Some of what we fear to speak or that which is seemingly mundane to us is exactly what those around us may need to hear in the way we speak our truth. I am a mother of 4, an entrepreneur, and a clinical herbalist. Plant medicine being one of the modalities I work with to assist my community. I have the tendency to make questionable choices, jump off things I shouldn't, along with the uncanny ability to turn it around to land on my feet. It is not only in victory that deep healing lies, but also in our mishaps and trials. Independently and with guests, we will cover topics to support our sovereign journeys to our best versions of wellness. I am not a doctor, and clinical herbalists are not licensed in Canada. Anything discussed pertaining to plants, protocols, and health in general are for educational purposes only. Every body is different. What works for one may not be the answer for another. It is your responsibility and duty to decide whether a course of action recommended to you, no matter it be by your family doctor or natural practitioner, is right for you. During this podcast, we will grow our personal discernment abilities and learn to take off the layers covering the self that lies within, so we may listen in a more profound way. So, let's roll up our proverbial sleeves, start digging, and get down and dirty with everything that makes us already fabulous and on our way up. And, of course, please subscribe, share, and leave a review if you enjoy this content. Let's get digging. It is my belief that storytelling and the act of receiving a narrative not only develops how the brain shapes the world around the perceiver, but it alters the neuroplasticity of the brain, also triggering the observer effect. When new connections and pathways among neurons occur, the brain will reorganize itself, resulting in a change of perception. Given that I believe humans are meaning makers and organize their reality to fit perception, it means that if there is an overarching narrative delivered to the brain, it will become the dominant reality. This, in turn, also gives us the power to shift our external environment by the stories we create and those that we listen to. What is more interesting is that sound is a type of mechanical wave that travels through mediums such as air, water, or solids, or the human body. The pitch of a sound is determined by its frequency. Hertz is the unit of frequency in the International System of Units, and its symbol is Hz. It is defined as 1 event or cycle per second. 1 Hertz equals 1 occurrence per second. It is named after Heinrich Rudolf Hertz, who first demonstrated the existence of electromagnetic waves. The human voice is a complex sound signal carrying both information and unique personal characteristics. The frequency or hertz of our voice depends on biology, age, and among other characteristics of the person or vehicle delivering the frequency and sound. When the brain hears words, there is an unspoken amount of information expressed to the listener, whether they are aware or not. This is why I mentioned in episode 3, the lost power of the word, and Mother Wart, when you need a hug, that words, especially in our ancestral language, carry whole worlds when delivered. A single word becomes a multi-dimensional experience. Therefore, when a simple story is voiced, it is a layered happening that may alter our reality in ways that we are not cognizant. Just some food for thought before I relay a short personal story, including a wolf and our plant ally, Trifolium, pratense, or Red Clover. Hello, gorgeous souls. It is story time with moi. And my plant ally, Trifolium pratense, or Red Clover, which is also in our Stop the Sag tea bag, we are going to read you a story. So I suggest you get comfy, and without further ado, we shall begin. I lay on my stomach, pressed against the cool gravel of a narrow country driveway beneath a dull yellow two-door Honda Civic with my friend beside me. We shoved ourselves under the car out of sheer fear and determination. Abby, who is of Baltic Finnish descent, had pale blonde hair and long braids pulled back from skin flushed with red patches across her cheeks. We were alone at our house. The sun stretched long golden fingers towards us, threatening to slip into our commandeered hideout. The air smelled like a dry, scorching summer day, the kind when cicadas sing from the rustle of brown side-oats grama, also known as Butulua curtipendula. Side-oats grama holds deep cultural and economic significance across North America. Tribes including the Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho harvested its protein-rich seeds for food and ground them into flour for winter storage. Its deep roots are used medicinally to treat digestive ailments. When European settlers arrived, ranchers discovered that cattle thrived on side oats, earning it the nickname ice cream grass by its palatability and nutrition. However, overgrazing in the late 1800s and early 1900s devastated its populations and contributed to the Dust Bowl. Today, side oats grama is experiencing a revival. Its drought tolerance, low water needs, and ecological benefits make it ideal for restoration projects and landscaping. A modern echo of the wisdom Indigenous peoples and early ranchers understood long ago. Like those Dust Bowl days, the driveway gravel gave way to small waves of debris and earth whenever it was disturbed. Somehow, I had convinced Abby that the Doctor Who robots from the Robots of Death were sitting in her dad's rusty gray van, which parked on the vehicle ramp beside the garage. I tried to steady my eyes. The van was far enough away that we could not tell whether the boxy, stoic silhouettes inside were moving. I held a long antique wooden spoon, and my friend clutched a metal spatula, just in case our reconnaissance mission turned into a full attack. In a hushed voice, I told Abby, "It may not seem like it. They are watching us." She took a deep breath and slowly turned towards the van, squinting at the boxy robot bodies that seemed to be facing us. I was certain of it because I had recently watched that Doctor Who episode. I was not supposed to watch the program, I was pretty sure, but I did with my Nana. Nana watched all kinds of things I knew I probably shouldn't see. The original Invaders from Mars, Devil Dog, the Hound of Hell, and the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. She also had piles of books whose covers showed women in red Victorian dresses running, screaming, or collapsing on stone stairs beneath large black Gothic titles. Earlier that day, I had told Ed that everything in our world was alive, even if it could not move or speak. The rocks, the chairs, even her platypus Stuffy, one of a huge pile in her bed, was alive somewhere we could not see, or at least the idea of it was alive in an unseen realm. I did not have all the details for her, but I assured her that I was working on it. Reluctantly, we looked up at the shelf of porcelain dolls at that moment, staring back at us with bright, animated eyes, dressed in colorful Finnish national attire. Abby's mom left several hours prior, and we had the small, old, two-story white homestead to ourselves. The original pine floorboard, smooth with use, creaked beneath our feet as we moved from her bedroom to the kitchen. The kitchen was bright with farmhouse window light. We lingered in the warmth streaming in. I sashayed across the floor around the mid-sized harvest table to the cookie jar on the mint green tiled counter. It was a ceramic green frog in a jacket sitting cross-legged, whose head lifted to reveal big homemade chocolate chip cookies. We each took 2, and the frog's head closed with a clatter. As we ate, I think we both realized we were alone. There were no adults. There might not be any adults for miles. There was one neighboring house around the corner, but beyond that, there could be no one for miles. We headed outside. I carried a stuffed brown and white duck under my arm. I was careful because I was sure it had broken its wing when it fell from the pile of stuffed animals onto the floor. I wrapped it with bandages from the bathroom first aid kit. Evie had small blue plastic Smurf figurines with white soft light hats falling out of her pockets. We walked around the yard, looking for a place the Smurfs might like to call home for the afternoon. We sat cross-legged in a small clearing beside a large fallen tree that marked the boundary between the cut grass and the dense woods surrounding the house on 3 sides. The 4th side opened to a high hill that led down to the road below. The driveway was steep and made a fabulous sledding hill in winter. When the sunlight began casting long shadows across the ground, we gathered the Smurfs and started toward the side door. As we rounded the corner behind the car in the driveway, I froze. I felt something watching us from the direction of the garage. My friend looked at me and asked, "What is it?" I answered, "Don't get scared, but I think the silver robots from Doctor Who are sitting over there in your dad's minivan." I pointed to the long, boxy torso with a small rectangular head and metal posts like ears sticking out. We could barely make out the shapes because the garage now cast a deep shadow across the van. My friend stared at me. "Oh my gosh, what do we do?" I said, "We need to get the duck and Smurfs to safety and arm ourselves. We don't know what they want or why they're here." We ran back into the house, muffling our screams of robot terror. After returning our friends to our bedroom, we went to the kitchen to find weapons. We realized there are many items in a kitchen that may be utilized for defense. But we both sensed we should not yield anything too powerful for us to manage. I chose the wooden spoon, certain it could do damage. Evie grabbed a large metal spatula. We tiptoed toward the door, trying to open it without letting the wooden inner door clang against the screen door. Everything squeaked and moaned. I led the way, looking back at Evie with one finger pushed to my pursed lips. We slipped outside and launched ourselves to the side of the car. Unsure where to go, I dropped to the ground and realized I could crawl underneath. I motioned for Evie to follow. We wiggled and pushed ourselves under the car, then peered between the back wheels toward the dusty van. I brushed my hair from my face. My hair, too, was in braids, long and brown, reaching to the waist of my pants. It moved wildly around my shoulders, collecting dirt and debris as I dragged myself into position. I fixed my eyes on the van and the outlines I was sure were robots. Evie asked, "What do we do now?" I answered, "We wait." We sat in silence, watching the van and its ominous dark shapes. Then Evie whispered, "I think I saw one move." In a shocked whisper, I said, "If they come out, follow my lead." We held our breath. A long silence filled with cicadas and frogs from a far-off pond settled into the late afternoon air. We watched, clutching each other's hands. Then, without warning, a large crow burst from the woods behind the van. Its black wings beat loudly above us, making a heavy swishing sound, while a guttural call rang from its body. "Caw! Caw! The silence shattered. We screamed and scrambled out from beneath the car. I did not look back. I ran to the door. We bumped into each other as we slid across the kitchen floor, then scuttled across Ebby's bedroom and under her bed. I covered my mouth with my hand so I would not breathe too loudly. We lost track of time. It felt as though we had stayed there for hours, even days. Then we heard the side door screen open. We gripped each other tighter. I wiped tears from my cheeks. A voice called, "Where are you two? Are you here?" Feet appeared at eye level beneath the box spring. Abby's mom reached down, lifted the bed skirt, got onto her knees, and peered in. "Why are you under the bed?" she asked. After giving her a quick account of how robots had attacked us, I abruptly realized it was soon to be dark. I grabbed my ducks, said my goodbyes, and ran outside to my yellow banana seat bike, waited at the edge of the driveway. I felt as if I were leaping onto the pedals as I started back up the road toward home. Rocks cracked and ground beneath the front wheel. I was standing on the pedals now, staring at the first of 3 long, steep hills. Coming down those hills was tremendous fun if you did not let your speed get away from you. If you misjudged the turn, you could fall too far into it, hit loose gravel, and lose control of the vehicle at hand. Going back up the hills, however, was no small feat. I stopped just before the opening of a path that curved through the woods around the steepest parts of the hill. It cut the hike by a third. Although it was already late in the day, Northwestern Ontario summers often held their light until 10 p.m. I looked up the hill, then towards the bush trail. I stepped off my yellow banana seat silver steed and grabbed the handlebars, pushing it off the road and onto the tamped down long grass. My white runners with red stripes crushed the gravel underfoot until I reached a recognizable opening in the foliage. I followed the trail marked with red clover towards the tree line. I have fond childhood memories of Trifolium pratense, or red clover, from days when we gathered to play baseball at the burned down school grounds. We sat in the back field picking the tops off the large flowering herb traditionally used for hormonal balance, menopause symptoms, and overall wellness. This sweet herb supports liver detoxification and in treatments for skin conditions such as recurrent boils or acne, eczema, and psoriasis. We would pick apart the little white and pink tubes that made up the clover flower head. There was nectar at the bottom of each tube that tasted like honey. We would bite off the bottom and suck out the delicious deposits, often while baseballs rolled past our feet. 1 teaspoon of dried herb per cup of boiled water, 1 to 3 cups per day, will deliver all this goodness directly to you, while adding some non-pasteurized raw honey will be the cherry on top, if you like things on the sweeter side, that is. I pushed my bicycle deeper into the trail, leaving the warmth of the sun behind. The air and ground grew cool beneath the dense foliage and trees. Evergreens mixed with poplars and large birches stood at attention on either side. The poplar, or populus, is regarded as a Zade in the Anishinaabe culture. It is deeply respected as a living relative and offers life through resilience and adaptability, along with balance and acceptance of our scars. It carries the history of the people and is an important knowledge keeper. Poplar trees have resin-rich buds and inner bark that offers natural remedies to relieve pain, soothe sore muscles, treat chest congestion, and heal minor skin inflammation and wounds. Because poplar contains salicin, those who have aspirin allergies should avoid it. Nonetheless, in Finland and Russia, it is the silver birch, Betula pendula, that serves as the cosmic tree or the shaman's ladder. Shamans would use notched birch poles to symbolically ascend through the planetary spheres to communicate with the spirit world. The word for birch in Finnish is koivu. The birch is spiritually linked to purification, rebirth, and protection. The story is that a mother's spirit reincarnated into a magical protective birch tree. Traditionally, its leaves, bark, and sap are known for their diuretic, anti-inflammatory, and antimicrobial properties. It is used in tonics and salves to treat urinary tract infections, rheumatic pain, and skin conditions like eczema. Birch sap is packed with amino acids and vitamin C and was exported as a sweetener to reduce oral bacteria and tooth decay. Just like the poplar, those with allergies to aspirin or are taking blood thinners should avoid using birch leaf or bark products. The beautiful white and black flecks of these bodies standing side by side being mistaken by the uninitiated for the same tree, but each was quite unique in its physical expression. Perhaps that's why these elders found comfort in the presence of the other, working together in the grand foliage to bring protection, life, and medicine to the world. Corn-colored light streaked through the branches and boughs, dancing across my olive green t-shirt. I pushed forward. A tingle rose on the back of my neck, and all at once the air thickened and the sound fell away. I held my breath. A primordial alarm stirred in me. I began scanning the trail and the tree trunks around me. I peered into what we call the bush in northwestern Ontario. My eyes locked onto another set of piercing, deep-set eyes, not human eyes, but those of an animal. At first, I saw the outline of large, alert ears. Then my gaze shifted to dark eyes that seemed set deep into the skull. Slowly, I made out the profile of a long nose and a large head. At first, I thought it was a dog, but the shape, once hidden by the camouflage of leaves and brush, began to define itself. Then clarity struck. The fully formed head of a massive timber wolf, its coat brown and white, staring back at me from between the pale trunks of poplar and birch trees, emerged. Time seemed to stop. I stood still, silent, and breathless with shock. Then time snapped back into motion. I turned and ran. I dropped my bicycle and ducked to flee up the trail without looking back. I ran out to the road where I felt a sense of safety when the last rays of the day met my arms, and even then I did not dare turn around. I ran more than 7 kilometers home without stopping. At one point, I realized how ridiculous it was that I dropped my bicycle instead of jumping on it and riding downhill. Still, I ran the whole way home on foot. When I arrived, sweaty and searing with panic, I told the story. But for reasons I did not understand, I claimed I had seen a bear, not a wolf. I felt a strange instinctive shame about seeing the wolf, as though I should keep it to myself. After I recounted the story, I was instructed that I would be retrieving my bicycle. I returned a couple days later. Petrified to enter the trail, I ventured in anyway. My heart pounded with anticipation. However, I walked tentatively towards my fallen bicycle, only to be welcomed back by the rustle of side oats grama and red clover flowerhead, accompanied by singing tree sparrows taking homage in the poplar and birch groves. This was the first time I met my wolf. The end. Thank you so much for dropping by Stories Not to Take to the Grave. I hope you feel inspired to take more time to listen to your own internal wisdom and to find the courage to share your story. If you like this content, please share, subscribe, and I would be ever so grateful if you took the time to leave a review. Until next time, keep on digging.